It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we take you into the wild. And for our latest Into the Wild segment, we're going to be showcasing some truly extraordinary stories told by two wildlife photographers in the very popular Photo Tales Volume 2 book. It truly reveals the wonders of nature as seen through the camera lenses of regular visitors to game reserves across our beautiful continent. Barbara and Paul Foster. Barbara, Paul, so good to be connecting with you this morning. A very good morning. How are you?
Morning, guys.
Morning. Morning.
I'm a massive fan and I've been missing the wilds. I love the fact that you guys have this opportunity to take us there through your incredible photographic work. But I've got to ask, maybe I can start with you, Barbara. You and your husband are obviously regular visitors to game reserves, particularly the Masai Mara in Kenya, which I've heard is unmatched in its natural beauty. Talk me through this wanderlust. Where did your love for adventure and the wild first begin, and how did you get into this line of work?
Well, we are, we call it very adventurous amateur wildlife photographers. So we don't do it as a line of work. But the kind of money we spend on it, we might as well do this as a line of work. Paul always says, if you don't want your children to get into drugs, get them into photography because they won't have money to spend on drugs. So,
that's a public service announcement. I love it.
Absolutely. So we went to the Masai Mara in 2012 and we sat on those plains one afternoon, and Malaika, one of a cheetah, a very famous cheetah, was showing her cub to hunt. And I looked at this scene and I realized this was not only a destination that we visited, going to visit only once, and we returned year after year, many times in the year. And we are very fortunate at this point in time that we have a little house just outside the Masai Mara on our Masai Rafiki's land. And we return 2-3 times a year, and we're about to return in 3 weeks' time again. So we've got a car in the Mara, and it is indeed our second home.
And probably your spiritual home by the looks of it. But through this
journey. It is my
journey,
spiritual home.
You've been able to capture these truly amazing moments. And we've just seen a picture there briefly, your couple. And Paul, maybe I can put this to you. A cheetah in the river story featured in the second volume. Tell us about capturing this particular image.
Well, first of all, we know that cats detest water. So that was one of the interesting elements there. And Nima was on the other side of the Dalek River, and she had to cross because obviously they need to move where they spray to hunt. One of the oddities of a cheetah is being one of the predators. They are the smallest. So whenever they make a catch, they need to eat very quickly and rapidly before some of the other predators will come and take their food away. So she had to cross the river, and it was quite fast flowing, and we were quite concerned that she was not going to make it. As you can see from the foam on the river, it was really not really maybe in flood, but it was coming down very strongly, and you can see she hated every moment. Now, the fortunate part there is that she was coming towards us so that you could see her face the whole time. And when she crossed and got to the bank, she gave herself a vigorous shake and immediately started looking around for prey to go on the hunt.
What I'm loving, it's those facial expressions, as you pointed out, that grimace, it's a human-like grimace as she's crossing the water. You feel her pain, literally, but how proud and majestic is that photo once she's on the banks on the other side, just beautiful. Now, Barbara, I'm going to ask you to talk me through probably one of, if not the most prized wildlife photo that you've taken and in the world, and it's a picture of a lioness holding your camera. How did this moment happen? How did you get your camera back?
It was not a prize moment while she was having it in her mouth, because our equipment is is uninsured because you can't afford to insure your equipment. You know, it's just too much money. And this was taken in Mashatu. Yeah, look at that. Look how she was quite proud to have my camera. And I mean, that's about 70,000 rands worth of equipment that she has in her mouth. And her cups were just willing her to put that down because they wanted to play with it, you know. So this was taken in Mashatu in Botswana. It came about, it was in the winter and it was bitterly cold. And I had a blanket on my lap. And, you know, typical photography and wanting to get as many pictures as possible. I was also wanting to take a video. So I had, I thought, okay, let me put my iPhone on video, and I put that on a little Gorilla Gram grip on one of the photo vehicle's bars. And I continued shooting on the camera that you saw on the lion's head. So she then, and while we were shooting, our a driver guide was telling us the story that this particular lioness, he's a bit unsure of her. She was the previous week she approached a car, and the driver got so frightened he actually wet his pants. So, and out of the corner of my head, I see, yes, so this was the story carrying on. So out of the corner of my eye, I saw my iPhone was getting a bit unstable, and I decided to remove it. So I put my camera on my lap, and it slid down and fell face down on the ground, and it made a doof sound. And this lioness, she had 3 cups, bigger cups, as you saw. And there was another lioness, the little rascals. There was another lioness with 2 very small cups. And this lioness immediately approached our car. And she gently flipped the camera around so that she could take the camera by the lens and strolled off. We had to reverse. We then retreated because that's what you do in the bush. If an animal approaches you, you retreat. And we retreated. She took my camera and, as you saw in the video, walked away with it. She walked away until she got to their den area, dropped it, and the cub started to play with it. We then followed her, and then fortunately, like all kids, they got quite quickly tired of their new toy.
Thank goodness.
And thank goodness, we could retrieve the camera, and there were 1 big teeth mark on my focus ring, lots of tiny teeth mark on the lens hood, because as you could see, the cups were dragging the camera around by the lens hood. And the camera was in absolute perfect working order. I just didn't want to do anything with it. I just wrapped it in a cloth in one of my Maasai shukas, blankets, and took it to Canon as is. It was very dusty because I was just concerned.
I'm trying to imagine you trying to explain to the guy at the camera store exactly what had happened to that camera. Absolutely beautiful. The images that have resulted from this very close encounter are amazing. You said it was a 70 grand camera. Well, that camera is now priceless, and it has been immortalized. You guys do amazing work. I know you say it's not a full-time job, but I think it's a full-time calling, and I'm so appreciative that you've been able to...
Unfortunately, it is.
Oh, man, it's beautiful, and you guys are doing an amazing job. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hopefully that has inspired in you, yes, the wanderlust, but also the love of this natural resource that we have on our doorstep. We are so blessed here in Africa.